Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is gonna be my first video on the channel. For a little bit of context for anybody watching this video, I am a Grandmaster support player, and I wanted to give my thoughts as to how good each of the support characters are for the majority of players. So this is not going to include top 500 type of thing. Okay. With that being said, I am going to say, as a little stipulation, so this guide or this tier list makes a little bit more sense, that I'm going to be making this tier list under the assumption that you are playing these characters the most efficient way. That's the mentality I'm going with, how good they are. Okay, because realistically, some of you might be saying, for example, and we'll take Brig. Brig is a perfect example. A lot of people in the community right now, which I think are pretty much the majority of newer players who are new to Overwatch 2, who've never played Overwatch 1, have the sense that Brigitte sucks ass right now. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Brigitte is actually really good at the moment. A little spoiler alert on the tier list, but it's just a matter of, are you playing her properly? And shocker, the people who actually do play her properly climb. They do really well. So yeah, this is under assumption that you're doing well, because anybody can make the argument, well, people at my rank or whatever, or people that I see playing these heroes, tend to do the things they're not supposed to. You can say that about any hero, to be honest, in which case any hero is going to be trash if you're not playing them the way that they need to. So throwing that out there, just so we have our guidelines for this tier list, I want to make it perfectly clear that every single support right now is playable, because at the end of the day, the thing that's going to help you win games as a player is how you play as a player, not what hero you pick. So just throwing that out there. With that going forward, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and just put Zen. Zen's OP. Zen is probably the most busted support at the moment in season 3 of Overwatch 2, primarily because his Discord is just fucking busted. Zen has always been one of those characters throughout Overwatch's history. He's either OP or he's niche. He very rarely ends up being in the middle. He's always one or the other. And a lot of times it just ends up being with how valuable his Discord is in that current season. So at the very moment, Discord, especially with Overwatch 2 being 5v5 now, more often than not, you can just throw the Discord orb on the enemy tank, and you just focus the tank until he blows up. So it's kind of broken, to be honest. And I've been playing on the other roles, trying to learn them quite a bit too recently. And when I'm playing tank, I can definitely feel the pressure of having an enemy Zen on the enemy team. It's pretty bad. So yeah, he's pretty good right now, and he's one of the most branded supports, I would argue, among the supports in terms of trying to learn him quickly. Next up, I'm gonna put Moira. I'm putting Moira in the solid category. So Moira, even though she lacks utility, Moira does, or traditional utility, I should say, because Moira has probably one of the most adaptable play styles in pretty much among the entire support roster, in my opinion. Because of the fact that she has Fade, she has good mobility, she has good survivability with her orbs, on top of the self-heal from her damage suck. Okay, the right hand one. Her Coalescence heals you and does damage. Because she does a good job of being able to both DPS and heal, even though her damage output isn't the greatest, she still has a lot of flexibility in what she's capable of doing. So there's a lot of situations, for example, where you need those AoE heals, and she's the best AoE healer in the game. Baptiste comes second. There's going to be times where maybe you have a selfish tank who's playing like Doomfist, Junker Queen, or Wrecking Ball, or a Roadhog, and your team needs to play a little bit more scrappy, a little bit more deathmatchy. She's perfect for that. She can kind of survive. She can take care of herself while keeping people healed up, maybe go on a flank if she needs to and get a 1v1 somebody. She's great at sometimes being able to dive snipers depending on the map. She can just flank them and catch them off surprise. She has a bit of, she's one of the few supports that can actually pierce through barriers with her abilities, her orbs, and her her coalescence. She's very flexible. And the main reason, realistically, why she's not OP, I'm just putting her at solid, is simply because of, like I said before, her damage isn't the greatest compared to, say, like Baptiste or even Ana or Zen. And that's it. She doesn't have utility. Those are pretty much the primary reasons why I wouldn't put her OP. She's just solid. She's a nice comfort pick for when shit hits the fan. You can pick Moira and know that at least you can still pull your weight. So I really like Moira. Mercy, I'm also putting Mercy as a... I almost want to put her as OP just because right now, anything that provides extra damage output is pretty strong at the moment. I kind of do, kind of don't. I'm not too certain which category I want to do. She almost feels like in the middle. So I'm just gonna put her like right here, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna put her right here in front of Moira, just because of the fact that, like I said, the damage boost is really good. Even if you're in a lower elo where your DPS can't hit their shots, you can always damage boost your tank. Tanks are a lot easier. More often than not, what I see at lower elos is that the tanks are usually the ones with the highest amount of damage output. So Mercy can still carry at lower elos. You just have to think about it a little bit. So even if your DPS can't hit, damage boost your Reinhardt. Reinhardt does like, what is it, 85 damage a swing? If you're damage boosting that, that's like roughly 100 damage, a little over 100 damage per swing with a Mercy damage boost. Like, Reinhardt can two-shot, like hit him twice with his hammer, you just killed a squishy. Maybe a few squishies, because you can hit multiple people with Reinhardt's hammer. Like, Mercy is pretty good, and she has good mobility, so she can survive pretty well. Her new healing buff makes her pretty good at keeping a lot of her teammates alive as well. The main thing that she's lacking really is the AoE heals. The only AoE heal she has really is her ultimate. But she's a pretty solid pick, so yeah, Mercy's pretty good. Lucio, I'm putting Lucio in the... it's kind of rough. I almost want to put Lucio in the... I would say for the majority of players, I'm going to put Lucio on niche. Just because of the fact that Lucio kind of requires coordination in order to get the most output out of him. Because of the fact that his two strongest aspects about him are his wall riding, which can let him get to various unique places and help with flanking, especially against like snipers like widows and stuff like that. But the most important one is simply his speed boost. That's the one that you most often take advantage, but that requires coordination, and the majority of players at the majority of ranks don't really coordinate that much. So it's unfortunate, but I'm putting Lucio there not because he's a bad hero, but just because of how the player base is at the moment and how much teamwork he needs to kind of get actual value. But when you do have coordination on your team, he is an easy, solid pick. All right, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Easy, solid pick. But for now, I'm putting him in niche, especially since there's only like a handful of tanks in the first place as well that he actually truly synergizes with. And not everybody picks him. Especially as the lower elos you go, less and less people pick the tanks that synergize with him the most. So I'm putting him in niche. Okay, so next up we're gonna talk about Brigitte. Brigitte, I think, is actually solid. Again, we're under the assumption that you're actually playing these heroes correctly. Doesn't mean you're executing what you need to do correctly, or you're even under the assumption that you're still making a lot of mistakes. At least you have an idea of what you're supposed to be doing, how a character is more or less supposed to be played. That's the assumption we're going under. And under that assumption, Brigitte is a really solid pick, because even with all the nerfs that she's received since launch, since her release, I should say, Brigitte is still the best support to ward off flankers and any dive characters from the enemy. She has good, decent map control. Her heals are really good. She's just a solid off healer, essentially. Okay. The main problem with Brigitte, and I know a lot of people are going to argue that she sucks ass right now, and it's not the fact that she sucks ass, it's the fact that more likely than not, if you're the one making that comment, you're the one who sucks ass at playing Brigitte. At the end of the day, that's just it, because every single person that I see that plays Brigitte correctly we win team fights. We win games. Those Brigitte players climb. Heck, you can see if you go to the top 500 support leaderboard, you will literally see just Brigitte one tricks just in that list. And a bunch of people will have Brigitte in their roster. Granted, now one of the things you have to take into account as well for things like top 500 is that it will only show people's most played heroes. In my case, for example, I can play about 4 or 5 of the support heroes in the roster at a pretty good level, but my career profile is only going to show my top 3 most played, and if I were to ever reach top 500, that's what's going to get displayed. Brigitte's not within my top 3, but I play Brigitte a good enough amount of times in my GM games because of how often dive characters are being played. So keep that in mind. Just looking at top 500 leaderboards isn't everything. Next up, we're going to have Baptiste. Baptiste is also solid. Majority of supports are mostly going to be in the solid category, to be honest. He has good AoE heals. He has really good damage output, both from his primary fire and his ultimate. The lamp is still really strong. The lamp even got a buff recently to help keep your team a little bit topped up a little bit better. Overall, it kind of does a little bit of everything, kind of like Moira. And I would say right now, Baptiste and Moira kind of share a lot of space playability together. There's a lot of situations where I'm like, all right, I can choose between Bap or Moira. Which one I pick kind of just depends on what my team picks, what the enemy's playing, and what map it is. So it's kind of in the same space as Moira. So I'm gonna put them together. I would say in most situations, I would end up picking Bap over Moira, but there are a lot of situations where I end up choosing to play Moira over Bap as well. So it literally just depends on the situation. But pretty solid hero, especially if you're coming from another FPS game. You just recently started playing Overwatch. Baptiste is a great transition into the support role. Ana, I'm also gonna put Ana in the solid category. I might even go to say Ana is not as OP as Zen, but Ana, I would say there's not very many situations where you can't pick Ana. You can play Ana into almost every single team composition. Or should I say, you can play Ana with almost every single tank in the game, and that's pretty much. Her anti's still pretty good. It's a little weaker now that Kiriko is in the game, of course, but you still have Sleep, which shuts down it's one of the few hard stuns in the game at the moment. It's still pretty good. Nano is still really strong. There's a lot of long sightline maps currently in the map pool for season 3. Ana's just a solid pick. I don't know if I would rate her as strong as Zen, and just because Zen is just literally in a field of his own, I'm not going to put her at OP. I'm going to put her at the top of solid, just because she's literally one of the few supports that, like, you can't really go wrong picking Ana for the most part. And last but not least, I'm going to put Kiriko. Kiriko, I'm going to, like, honestly, I would put in between average and solid. And again, this is mostly due to the fact that her abilities are strong. The problem is that her primary fire and her healing aren't the best compared to all the other supports. That's the big kicker here. It's like, if you need good healing, if you need good long range healing, you have Ana, you have Zen, you have Brigitte, you even have Mercy to an extent. Most of the other supports just beat Kiriko when it comes to being able to heal from range, essentially. You need good damage output. You got Baptiste and Zenyatta from range. You have Ana from range. Like, there's already other supports that kind of do her mid-fight potential better. They don't really need the Kiriko. The main thing that really makes Kiriko good, I should say, or strong, if you're playing her properly in the right situations, is she's survivable with a TP. Her Suzu is a get out of jail freeze card for like a second, or is it a little over a second? I forgot how long Suzu lasts. Whatever it is, it's like a mini immortality field. It's And of course, her Kitsune Rush is really strong. I would almost say that the only times you would really want to pick Kiriko over maybe say some of these other situations is if you need something like BAP, but with more mobility. That has the immortality effect, mostly for the cleanse. More often than not, you're going to probably want to pick Kiriko for a cleanse, whether it be against Ash's Dynamite, anti-nades, or even a Junker Queen's ultimate that bleeds and antis everyone, purples everybody. Those sort of effects. It can negate things like Cassidy's magnetic grenade at the moment, which is probably the most BS ability at the moment in the game, probably alongside Suzu, to be honest, too. But yeah, Kiriko is a good pick. It's just more often than not, her mid game, or should I say her mid fight potential, is easily worse compared to some of the other supports, but her abilities are a little bit stronger than a lot of the other supports. That's kind of her trade-off right now. And seeing how there's certain game modes like push, for example, which really do depend on having good mid-fight potential to take the cart, or I guess the robot in that instance, to make headway. Mid-fights and ultimates are a lot slower in this game compared to Overwatch 1 and such. Having that mid-fight really matters a lot more. But yeah, so in my opinion, I'm putting her in the average category just because she's in the right situation. She can still be strong, but in my personal opinion, majority of the time you can end up just picking one of these other supports above her instead and get more value. Whether or not that's going to be my support tier list for today, go ahead and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comment section down below, especially anybody in the lower elo lobbies. I would love to hear your thoughts about the subject. Other than that, go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below, guys. It would really, if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you guys follow the channel, subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out. I am streaming on the channel every once in a while, alongside TikTok and Twitch. I try to stream to as many platforms as possible. So whichever one you want to follow, by all means, go for it. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.